Why, hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Winning Writers Interview Series. So pleased that you have decided to stop by for this particular interview that I'm really excited about. My name is Daniel Hall, and I help folks at realfastvip.com. And one of my VIP members is a world-renowned author and expert. Her name is Romilla Reddy. And Romilla is an expert author, and that's where I wanted to kind of start off with you today, Romilla. And that is, what is the name of your book?
The name is Neuro-linguistic Programming for Dummies, and it was published by Wiley.
Nice.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me on this program.
Yes, thank you for being here, Romilla. So before we actually jump into the questions that I have prepared for you, can you tell folks what neuro-linguistic programming is?
It is a mouthful, isn't it? Neuro refers to the neurology in our bodies, how we transmit data from the outside to the inside, and most able-bodied people will have similar reactions, the similar neurology. So that is because there is so much information being bombarded, we're being bombarded with it, but it is used, it has to be filtered through so that the brain can actually, the mind can actually use it. So that's where the neurology comes in. The linguistics is verbal language as well as body language. And so I could be sitting here going, oh yeah, absolutely, Daniel, and you'll be, and you know that I'm not interested. So the body language is so important. And the, excuse me, the programming is how we indoctrinated throughout our lives. I was brought up, educated in a convent, so I'm a convent girl. Sorry, I mustn't do that. And I was reading a book, and this person was going on about grammar and how important it is, and the nuns used to pull out pigtails. So there's this indoctrination, and the thing about wealth is evil, etc. It all comes in. It's the programming that we are brought up with, which damages us. Some of it can be empowering, but then it takes a long time for us to realize it's not serving us. So that's what neuro-linguistic programming is about. It's the neurology in the body, it's the language, and it is the patterns that we live with from day to day.
So, Romilla, you are the author of this For Dummies book, essentially, Neuro-linguistic Programming for Dummies, which is ostensibly a primer on the subject, right? So what you're saying, and correct me if I go off the track here, but what I hear you saying is that there is a way to first identify these program traits that may not be serving you in the way that you want to be served, and that through neuro-linguistic programming, that's otherwise known as NLP, right?
It is, yes.
Yes. So that through NLP, that you can reverse and lay down new tracks, new program, which indeed do serve you. Do I have that right?
That is precisely, that is correct, yes.
Okay.
And the more you use the same habit, the more the neuron pathways are set until it becomes automatic.
Okay, great. So, and then kind of take me through that in from the standpoint of what inspired you to write this book?
Well, NLP found me purely by chance. It was an encounter, and I love learning. And I went on my training course and came out, and I just felt so totally different. There was so much I understood about the difficult people in my life. And I was able to talk to them. I was able to make concessions for their behavior. And my belief systems changed. And all of a sudden I found that all the rubbish that I used to attract wasn't happening anymore, because what I was projecting out was a much more positive way of thinking. My beliefs had changed. So I shifted from victim mode to being someone who was pretty well feeling much better about life. And I'm afraid I'm evangelical about things that work for me. And there was this absolute compulsion to do something and share this knowledge. And this thought sort of flitted through my mind about writing, and who, from never having been an author or anything, to suddenly think, oh, I'd like to do one for the Dummies brand. And but when I tried to find out about how one does that, it wasn't available in the UK. It was only in the US. And I chased people in the US, and they say, oh no, it's too niche, we can't have it. And then just as soon as the English got the license, I was surfing again, and suddenly it was there, and I called them up, and she says, oh no, that book doesn't exist. I said, no, because I want to write it. And someone spoke to me. She says, oh, I'll get Jason to ring you at 10 o'clock tonight. And I thought, oh yes, that's the end of it. And he did. And he says, can't talk to you now, but can I call you back in half an hour? And we spoke till into the night. And he says, okay, send me a chapter. And I hadn't a clue how to write a chapter. And a friend of mine got in touch. We hadn't been in touch for absolutely years. And she said, shall we go for a walk? And she was a writer. And I said, yes, let's go for a walk. And we were walking. I said, do you want to collaborate on a book? And she I said, it's a good brand. She says, the Dummies brand. And I looked at her and she says, yes, let's do it. So I'm not the author, I'm the co-author, but NLP for Dummies is definitely my brainchild.
Lovely, and probably your content as well, and expertise, I would imagine, as well.
And Kate's.
Yes. Okay, great. So let's talk about, for folks watching or listening, who should buy this book? Who did you write it for?
People rather like myself in some respects, because I was feeling pretty lost in life, and understanding my own ways of thinking and how they were holding me back, learning how to change them, and then being able to move forward, being more aspirational, not afraid to shoot for the stars. And it just felt that people were suffering from stress, because I was in the IT industry. People around me were suffering from stress. And this is all how we think and feel and behave. And by changing that, we can communicate so much more effectively. And Daniel, if I asked you a question, how much of this dialogue, what percentage are you responsible for, would you say?
Of our dialogue together?
Of our dialogue?
Well, we're co-creating this dialogue, so we're both 100% responsible for this dialogue.
Brilliant. That is just the perfect answer, because logically you should say, well, I've got 50%, you've got 50%. But for instance, I'm talking to you and I'm not getting the responses from you. I have to adapt how I speak. Thank you.
Yes. So that kind of brings me to, I know that you cover many important things in the book, but is it possible that you could give one or two tips from the book that people could implement in their lives to see some positive result?
One of the things I think is, it's so important to just remember to stop. Because you say something to me and it hits one of my hotspots and I go, pow! And that doesn't keep the outcome in mind. So if the outcome is that I have to have a good relationship with you, I want you to understand what I'm saying, and I'm focused on the result. Going exploding at you is not going to serve the purpose, whereas stay in the moment, think about what it is that one has to learn from this interaction, what is the outcome I want, and always be curious.
Brilliant, brilliant. And any ways for those folks that may have heard of NLP, but they're not quite sure how to use it in their life? Is there sort of a good first step that they could take?
I have, they have, and I'm not, it's not because I'm promoting the book necessarily, but chapter 3 actually talks about discovering who's driving your life. So you find out how fears can drive you in the wrong direction, etc. So it is very much about understanding how one thinks oneself, and then you can go on to understand how other people think. And in sales particularly, one of the nice things you can do is look at someone who's, and you can decide whether they prefer visual intake, auditory intake, kinesthetic. And if there's salespeople and you can assess that they like a touchy-feely people, give them something of good quality to hand to them. So it's a case of, first of all, understand yourself, and then you can go on to understand other people, and you can make sure that you're heard every time.
Lovely, lovely. So where can people get the book?
Amazon.
Amazon.com? Okay.
Or co.uk. Amazon.co.uk or Amazon.com, yes.
Okay.
And it is in Kindle form, but there's also a Neuro-linguistic Programming Workbook for Dummies, and both of those are on Amazon.
Lovely, lovely. And I imagine it's also, it's a Wiley book. It's a big brand, so I imagine it's also in bookstores probably worldwide as well.
Yes.
Okay. As we sort of finish up this little interview that we're doing, is there any sort of last words of wisdom that you would like to leave with watchers and or listeners of this particular interview?
This is a little bit of self-promotion, and please forgive me for this, but I'm working on Beyond Distress, how to use stress to your advantage. And one of the things is that that I'd like people to be aware of is that we experience a lot of negative stress, which I call distress, but not many people are aware of the fact that there is positive stress that can make you excited, make you feel more creative, help you to achieve your goals more easily. And that is by working with your nature, so to speak. So for instance, if you're very much a people person, sitting and trying to program computers all day long is going to be soul destroyed and very stressful. So that's what I want to offer people. And Beyond Distress, how to use stress to your advantage. But what I would love to know is if people are willing to get in touch to tell me what stresses them out so I can serve them better.
Oh, that's lovely. How do people reach out and connect to you?
Email Romilla, ROMILLA at readysolutionsgroup.com.
Lovely, lovely. So Romilla, ROMILLA at readysolutionsgroup.com. Yes? Okay, lovely. So thank you so much, Romilla, for taking the time to do this interview. Absolutely fascinating, this area of neuro-linguistic programming and what it can do, how it can be harnessed, essentially, to make our lives better on multiple levels. So I'm going to recommend this great book to you if you want to really master your mind and master those things that may have been programmed in you in your youth that are no longer serving you, that this might be a great way to sort of unwind that and fill you with the sort of the programming that does serve you. So with that, Romilla, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Now, Romilla, I understand that you are also a member of RealFastVIP.com, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and for those folks that may not know, RealFast VIP is my own program where I help folks like you. So can you tell folks how it was that you came to be a part of that program, and what are your thoughts about the program?
Well, the way I came, because I get inundated with so much email, it is so much information, and I got this email from this person called Daniel Hall, advocating, telling me about this program of yours, and I didn't think twice about joining. And the reason is because I found out about you a few years ago, and courtesy of you, I was actually a guest speaker on a cruise ship, which is fantastic. So I trust your ethos, and I just snapped it up like that. And I love the material on there. There is so much material, and it takes you through it step by step. For instance, about how the researches that you can do for Amazon, etc. And it's so important, and it's in manageable chunks. So I'm just working through it because I want to develop and promote both books now, the NLP and Beyond Distress.
And the other question, and thank you so much for that, Romilla. I really, really appreciate it. And, you know, as I often say, one of the reasons why I do what I do is so that I can help authors like you who have an important message to disseminate that message to a wider group of people, so that by virtue of helping you, I help all the people that you help. So that's, you know, very heartening to me. One of the reasons, you know, I do what I do, what floats my boat. But my question for you along these lines is, let's say that somebody is maybe considering joining Real Fast VIP, but they're just not sure. What would you tell them?
They can't afford not to, because all they have to do, it's a monthly subscription. If the worst comes to the worst, they try it out for a month, they cancel the subscription, and that's it. But I promise you, once you get on the site and see the amount of information there is, and just how useful and accessible and understandable it is, you won't want to.
Lovely. Anything else that you would like to add? Any additional words of wisdom for those folks that would maybe are considering joining?
Absolutely. The thing that I really like is having access to you, Daniel, and you're so good at answering. And the one section in there that I love is, if there is some training that we feel we need, we can ask you and you will develop it and you will put it on there. So all your questions can be answered.
Lovely. Romilla, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Thank you for being a RealFastVIP.com member. And once again, I want to remind folks that if you are interested in neuro-linguistic programming and you've not really gone too far, you just kind of dipped a toe, that Romilla here is the foremost expert at explaining neuro-linguistic programming for beginners, okay? Hence the Dummies book. and there's a lot more advanced and intermediate material in that book as well. So go check it out. Romilla, thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate you. And for those watching, thanks to you. Go check out Romilla's book right now.
Thank you, Daniel, ever so much.